finish the sugya of Yosef-Boaz-Palti. So review the Gemara. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin Yutes that Tukvay shel Yosef and Vasanusay shel Boaz. Tukvay shel Boaz and Vasanusay shel Palti ben Layish. So says the Gemara. Which means what was difficult, Rashi explains, what was difficult for Yosef, what was difficult for Yosef? Not the Nisayon of being sold down the river.
No,
not the Nisayon of being an outcast by his brothers. That wasn't difficult for Yosef. What was difficult for Yosef was Potiphar, Eishes Potiphar. So that was a big Nisayon. It was a huge Nisayon. We shouldn't underplay it. It's not the pshat that Yosef had tzaddik, he was a tzaddik, he didn't feel that Nisayon. He felt the Nisayon. Chazal speak about how it affected him for life, that Nisayon. But he was Ovayd with Nisayon. He was Ovayd with Nisayon. So it's hard to be masig, right? I don't know. If I have a Nisayon with a cookie, it's hard for me to be. It's the Ovayd with Nisayon. I have a machlekes with a cookie for 15 minutes and then I eat it. After I win the machlekes.
Win-win.
Huh?
It's a win-win.
That's a win-win. So, Tukvay shel Yosef, what was hard for Yosef was, on Vasanusay was easy, Rashi says, for Boaz. And what was Tukvay shel Boaz, what was difficult for Boaz is relative. As difficult as it was for Boaz, on Vasanusay shel Palti ben Layish. So I was just responding a little bit into the Indian of for Boaz, that on the one hand it was on Vasanusay, compared to Yosef it was easy, and compared to Palti ben Layish it was difficult. Remember the story of Palti ben Layish? Just the background here. The story of Palti ben Layish is that Shaul had a daughter, Shaul HaMelech, had a daughter, Michal, and Shaul HaMelech made an announcement that whoever can kill Goliath gets my daughter. And Dovid came and he did it, and then he vacillated on this, Shaul. And he said, let's do more. You have to be pareali b'mei arlois. Kill 100 Plishtim and bring me their arla. Okay, David did that too. Brought 200, I think it says in Tanakh. And he married Michal, but then when David became a threat to Shaul, so he took away Michal, and he gave Shaul gave his daughter Michal to Palti ben Layish. And then afterwards in the story, when David was Kovesh and David was Begvura, so he had his people bring Michal back to him, and then we have the story of David and his wife Michal. It was Machargir Lifnei Aron, etc., and Michal criticized him. So you have there this Michal was the connector between Beis Shaul and Beis Dovid. One of the connectors. Yonasan was another connector. But Michal was a connector between the two Meluchas. Malchus Shaul, which was from the B'nai Rachel, and Malchus Dovid. Okay. And Boaz, this is a very, so Boaz was the center of this whole side of line. What I want to do is very clearly in our minds connect Yosef-Boaz-Palti. It's outstanding that Yosef and Boaz were from two different shvatim. Not just from two different shvatim, but we know there's a Mashiach ben Yosef and a Mashiach ben Dovid. It's this Yosef Yehuda thing that we find by Yigash of Yehuda. In the beginning of Yigash, Parshas by Yigash, is Yehuda approaches Yosef, and he's yes, no. Yigash l'molchama bi'adoni. He's talking so nicely. A spotty relationship there between Yehuda and Yosef. Yehuda being at that time the royet soin, he was a shepherd, he was a peasant, kilu, in the eyes of a king, in the eyes of Paro. And Yosef being the Moshe B'Choleretz Mitzrayim, big shot. But there was two maluchas coinciding, and the two maluchos were complementing each other, because you need these two maluchos. Bi'adoni, daber noah davar ba'oznei abdecha, daber noah abdecha davar. Called himself as Eved. Yehuda called himself an Eved to Yosef. On the other hand, Vayigash elav l'molchama. So Lamaisa, at the end of the Rus here. Rus. First of all, yichus, let's get clear. Eila told us Peretz. Eila told us Peretz. This is the end of Megillas Rus. Eila told us. From Chumash till here it doesn't say Eila told us, I don't think. Eila told us Peretz. Peretz, Hoylidus Chetzron. Who is Peretz's parents? Yehuda Tamar. So we're starting really with Yehuda Tamar. We kind of left off the psukim over here. There was Peretz. Peretz Hoylidus Chetzron. Chetzron Hoylidus Ram Hoylidus Aminadov. Aminadov Hoylidus Nachshon, dignitary. Nachshon ben Aminadov. He was the one that jumped into the Yamsu. So that was a grandson of Peretz. Nachshon Hoylidus Salma. Salma and Salma are the same people. Salmon, Hoylidus Boaz. Boaz, Hoylidus Ovayd, Hoylidus Yishai, Yishai Hoylidus Dovid. So we have a clear, the Megillah is makbid to tell us that yichus from Peretz till Dovid HaMelech. Not from Yehuda, but Peretz, Chazal Darshan, why was he called Peretz? Sheparetz Geder, because Yehuda and Tamar were Peretz Geder. See, this is important to understand. Dovid came from Yehuda and Tamar, who were Peretz Geder. They had a son, Peretz. Peretz, this Indian of being Peretz Geder, gave koach to Nachshon by Aminadov to walk into the sea. He was a trailblazer, in the very literal sense of the word. Who has a koach to... And let's see, he's in the yichus here. It was a koach to walk into water. This is our religion. Other religions, they walk on water. Right into the water, like it's right into the water. So where does this come from? This chutzpah. It comes from a chutzpah of Yehuda Tamar, half of a fellow. So you see the two sides of this. Peretz. Even the Lashon, Eila told us Peretz. Peretz, Hoylidus Chetzron. Peretz. Peretz is a verb. Peretz Geder. It's Peretz Geder. So comes Aminadov. Where's Aminadov? Comes Nachshon. Nachshon comes Boaz. And Boaz comes Dovid. So Dovid was also had a koach of Milchama, and a koach which came from Peretz, which came from Nachshon ben Aminadov. This is yichus. Dovid HaMelech. He asked Dovid HaMelech, should we or should we not take a risk? Listen, I'm an anical of Nachshon ben Aminadov.
Why not?
Go for it. It's an insight into Dovid HaMelech. Like, every decision that he made, everything that he did. He was an anical of Nachshon ben Aminadov. He came from Peretz, who came from Yehuda Tamar, who came from a bad place, came from a question mark. But Malchus is to be able to get out of the Geder, Peretz Geder. But when you're Peretz Geder, when you get out of the Geder, it's like taking the baby out of the incubator. When you get out of the Geder, it's a dangerous place. On the one hand, you can build up koach, which is you can take over the whole world. You won't be mediocre if you're Peretz Geder. I think sometimes myself, they talk about certain gedolim or people that have done great things. Even the Havdol by the Goyim, these really extreme people. But you have to be extreme in order to do something in this world. You have to be.
You have to take risks.
You have to take risks, but extreme. It was extreme personalities, don't be mediocre. I think mediocre is good, it's safe, but you never get anywhere. There's no Malchus in the mediocrity. There's no Malchus in that. Malchus is the ability to be Peretz Geder with the danger which is inherent in it, which you see by Dovid HaMelech, which you see by Shlomo HaMelech, which you see by Chol Malchei Yisrael, up and down and up and down and up and down. Tzadikim Rishayim, Chizkiyahu Menashe. Don't understand. But it's all the same koach of being Peretz Geder, and Boaz is standing in the middle of all of this. Boaz and Rus. So it's interesting. This is what I want to explain for a minute. Let me masber this in. Why, between Peretz and Mashiach, do you need, and it's a Ganze Megillah over here explaining this, why do you need Boaz and Rus? Why is that the exchange place, Boaz and Rus, to get from Peretz to Dovid to Mashiach? And you need it. It's so important that we have Boaz and Rus. So the Gemara explains, you need a kupa shel shrotzim.
You need Rus.
You need Rus, but you need Boaz also. It's not just Rus. You need Boaz also. So let's think a little bit about Boaz. Boaz, the Zohar says, I marked it down a long time ago.
Did they realize those people we're talking about? Did they realize at the time what their place was in history in the chain?
Why not? He was a tzaddik. Zohar calls Boaz tzaddik Yisod Olam. Interesting lashon. Who's called tzaddik Yisod Olam? Yosef. And why tzaddik Yisod Olam? Because it was midas hayisod. Not wow, what a tzaddik. Tzaddik Yisod. It's a statement. Tzaddik is midas hayisod. That's what tzaddik is. Noach was a tzaddik, Yosef was a tzaddik, Boaz was a tzaddik. Those are the tzaddikim of Midas HaYisod. The Zohar says, at the end of Rus, it says, it's quoting on the pasuk, that when Boaz married Rus, so the psukim say that Vayotza Bashar, Kol Ha'am Asher Bashar, everybody was in the shar. Baruch Hu Lahem gave them a bracha, like a chutzpah, Boaz and Rus walking away from the chutzpah, everybody gave them a bracha. So the Zohar says, Kol Ha'am Asher Bashar Zu Sanhedrin Gedolah Shayisham. The Sanhedrin was there. Sanhedrin Gedolah, Bashar. Madat Amar Mishikinu Mayim Bar Beis Lechem Asher Bashar V'Hazakenim. They gave them the bracha. It says in the pasuk, Elu Talmidei Chachamim V'Parnesim V'Kulam Baruch Hu Bracha Zulahem. So the whole Klal Yisrael gave a bracha. What a beautiful situation, a visual. That here is Rus and Boaz. Everybody gave them a bracha because talk about knowing what's going to happen over here from this union of Boaz and Rus. We're creating Mashiach. So the Sanhedrin gave it a bracha. They condoned it plus blessed it. The Talmidei Chacham Shebadar gave it a bracha because it was a little bit of a funny story. The Kulan Baruch Hu bracha zulahem. Why? Why did everyone give him this bracha? It says the Zohar da Parnes Hadar Hayu, because he was the Parnes Hadar. Now, if he's a Parnes Hadar, we'll take his word for it, right? So how do we know Boaz was the Parnes Hadar? Who says Boaz was the Parnes Hadar? The Gvir of the generation, the biggest Baal Tzedakah of the generation, the biggest Chadas Chasheva Balavas, the Parnes Hadar. You know who was a Parnes Hadar, by the way, earlier? Yosef. Yosef, who are Mashpir L'chol Eretz Mitzrayim. Parnas Hador. He gives Parnasa. Parnas Hador.
Elimelech also?
Elimelech was a Parnas Hador. So who was this Boaz that he was Parnas Hador? It says the Zohar, surprise, Manu, who was he? Iv's son. Mipes Lachem. You want to understand why he was a Parnas Hador? That's because he was Iv's son. So everybody's thinking to themselves, Boaz, we know, who's Iv's son? It's like you say, why is this guy a Parnas Hador? Because his grandfather was Reichman. Okay, Reichman we know. Who's Iv's son? Who's Iv's son? So Iv's son, anybody know who Iv's son was?
Shofet.
Huh?
Shofet.
Shofet, very good. That's all you know? That's all I know too. Says there at the bottom, Iv's son, say for Shoftim Yud Beis, Yishai Afrav, there's 3 psukim about Iv's son. Yishai Afrav is Yisrael, Iv's son Mipes Lachem, that he was a Shofet called Iv's son, which was really Boaz. Yishai as Yisrael Sheva Shonim, V'hu HaYeshofet HaAsiri B'mei HaShoftim. But it says something else. You look at Shoftim, it says that Iv's son, and the Gemara Bava Basra, and Ein Yaakov Bava Basra, something else. Probably Olive. Shows the look.
Oh, sorry. Is it?
Oh, this Iv's son is an interesting, unnoticed character.
Was Boaz ever married before?
Listen to this. Well, Boaz was Iv's son. Amar Rav. You don't really need the Zohar, but the Zohar is Amar Rav. Iv's son Zeb Boaz. My Kamash Malon. Ki iduch de Rabba bar Rav Yitzchak Huna de Amar Rabba bar Rav Yitzchak Huna Amar Rav. Here's a statement of Rav, a bit of history. Me'ev esrim mishtois asa Boaz levanov, that Boaz made 120 chasanas for his children. So I hope he was married. Shenemar, because it says in the Sefer Shoftim, Vayihi lo shloishim bonim, that he had 30 children. 30 sons rather, shloishim bonois, and 30 daughters, sheshilach hachutza. So, as the Gemara is telling us, Boaz made 120 chasanas. Why did Boaz make 120 chasanas? Well, the answer is because he had 60 children. 60 children! A lot of children. You got Parnas Hador.
You had to be rich.
I have 11 children, I feel like the Parnas Hador. Parnas Hador. Oh, 60 children.
Why the double?
Huh?
Why the double?
Shtayim says, Kol echad ve'echad asa shtei mishtois. Because they used to make a mechitza at chasana. So they made one for the men, one chasana for the men, and another chasana for the women. After the chuppah, they separated. A chasana for the men, a chasana. Kesim Rakdim of Bnei Akal, the chasana wasn't there. So they made one chasana. So he made 120 chasanas. Echad v'beis aviv, echad v'beis chamav. So Iv's son, who it's talking about over here, now that we know that he was Boaz, he becomes extremely important. So let's know something about Boaz. Let's know something about Boaz, a little background material that you should know, that he had 30 sons, 30 daughters. He sent the 30 daughters out of the house, which means he married them off, and he brought in their place 30 daughters-in-law. So now he's still, right, make the cheshbon. Ubechulan, says the Gemara, just interesting, in that same time, there was Manoach. Who was Manoach? Shimshon's father. So all of these chasanas, 120 chasanas, he didn't send one time an invitation to Manoach. Why? Abar Kudanya Akara. He has no children, Manoach. So by my parley, he's never going to invite me back to a chasana. Okay.
Didn't want to make him feel bad, maybe.
Huh?
We didn't want to make him feel bad.
That's what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, Kudanya Akara b'mai parli. How's he going to pay me back?
Sound like a rich guy. That's a positive way.
Parnas Hador.
It's a bargaining where you give.
Maybe that's
to
how
know
he became
something
rich.
that the other person will give you back.
So I'm not inviting you because you can't give me back.
Yeah, you're guilty. You're not able to give back.
It could be l'shvach.
Yeah.
How's he going to feel that he can never pay me back?
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Think about that one.
But my para, how's he ever going to pay me back? Tana, not so pashut. Chulan mesu b'chayav. All of these 60 kids, they all died. Tragedy happened. He lost all of his kids. In the Megillah of Rus, Malchus is exactly what happened to his 60 kids in the Medrash of Rus. He lost 60 kids. So this is a Boaz which lost 60 kids. Aminadov Rinshi b'chayecha de yalad to shisan lamalich de yalad to ichbel vaylet chad. I mean shisan zaris. Kitzer Manoach ended up having a child, Shimshon, one child, and Boaz lost all of his kids.
No, Manoach lost his also.
Remember, I was mafarish on Sunday the word politics. It's the season. 'Tis the season. Like the pshat in politics, l'dati, is that when you if I do a mitzvah, like if I send you a wedding invitation, so because I want you to come to the wedding invitation, I want you to come to the wedding, so I send you a wedding invitation. So that's good. If I send you a wedding invitation because I want you to do me a favor, or I want you to come to my wedding, or I want you to give me a gift, or I want you to, for anything, I'm giving. As soon as I'm sending, why are you sending me a wedding invitation? Because as soon as it's already politics. Politics means that I'm not doing it for the thing itself. I'm doing it because of something else it does. Well, I'll vote for you so that you will do this and this, not because you're the right guy. That's politics. I'll be mechaber you so you'll be mechaber me back. Politics. So it's interesting. Like the Gemara says, "Asay dvar l'man pa'alan." Person should do things l'man pa'alan, not l'shma. Do things for the thing itself. I say dvar l'man pa'alan, v'sofa kavod lavod. At the end, you'll get kavod. But don't do things for kavod. That's politics. So, if the kavod is there, it's mitzidai. But if I say dvar l'man pa'alan, do it for the thing itself. So if I'm saying hello to you, just say hello. That's all. If I'm giving you a gift, just give a gift. This whole expectation and magiali is political. I'm actually, because I'm feeling like too many relationships are political. Politics with their wife. I think they can. Politics with their wife. I'll do this, we'll do that. Birthday, I'll do that, you'll do this, you do that, I'll do that, you'll do that, you do this. It's politics. I say it's part of the parliament. Let's do things because, why? Because I love you. That's all. Every Jew, wife, husband, everything. There's a Seit Dvar L'man Pa'alam. What's going to come out of it, it'll come out of it. It's not an important hadracha. Tell it to our chasanim and our kala. An important hadracha. Don't do things so that. So there's also that. Okay, the kids are so he made these weddings. The point I want to bring out here is that Boaz has a history here. If Boaz was Yiv's son, so that means that Boaz had a history of 60 children that were born and 60 children that died. This is the tragedy he lived on. And then the Medrash says that Boaz was 80 years old when Rus came into his life. U'b'yoyim sheba Rus, when Rus came to Eretz Yisrael with Naomi, Mesa Ishta. It was that day that, so here's the Pardes Hador that was completely eingezet. You're talking about a Pardes Hador who lost his whole family and he lost his wife and he's walking around in the fields and he sees Rus and he says, Mi hanara hazais. And on this Chazal have a criticism and it says, Darkoi shel ish, is it the darach of an ish, lishal acher nara, Mi hanara hazais, the Gemara says, Baba Basra, like who's earlier Baba Basra, sorry, Sanhedrin, and Shabbos. Darkei shel ish lishal acher isha. Ella, where it says he saw that she was a tanua. So that's why he was looking at her. Hello? Does this make sense to you? We know this, like, the only women I look at are the ones with the burqas. It's so interesting, isn't it? Like, who's under there? So it's a funny kasha, it's a funny terror. It's asking about Rus. Now here's a guy who just had 60 kids and lost 60 kids, and his wife died that day. And he's asking me, Anara Azais, but Kivan Shaya, Ovayd Amidasa. When she was standing straight. When she was bending, she was bending it away like a Bas Yisrael bends. So he was very interested in her. Okay. Here's the thing. Boaz,
his kid needed a mother.
his kids died.
Which kids?
Kids were dead. You know nothing.
No grandchildren.
We don't know. Naomi says to Rus, story al pi Chazal, Naomi says to Rus, Boaz is a gvir, he'll be goel us, he's the closest relative, he'll be the goel, take care of us. And this is what you should do. Go to him when he's sleeping in the goren. Why was Boaz sleeping in the goren if he was such a gvir? What was he doing in the silo? Sleep in the palace. Sleep in the villa, the villa. Was he sleeping in the goren? He was sleeping with the hay.
It was another.
So Avel. Avel sleep in the silos. If you're in the barn. What's he doing in the barn? I think there's a side to this too, when he was sleeping in the barn. I think so. But anyway, so we know the story that Naomi sends Rus, says, go sleep by his feet, go lay by his feet. I'll say the Rus thought this was a very, very strange idea. But since she said to Naomi, anything you tell me to do, I'm going to do, so she did it. She went to sleep by his feet. The psukim are medayik that Boaz woke up, and he became very, very frightened by Yilfas, there. He started to shake, he started to tremble. Behina Isha. Zalar Medayik, he didn't even know that he didn't know what was going on. Behina Isha. He said, what do you want here? So he said, I want you to marry me. Take your simla. Let's make a chuppah right here and now. I want you to marry me. Boaz said to her, so interesting, why should I marry you? He says, because you're the Kroiv Mishpacha. You should marry me. So Boaz said to her in the psukim, why are you coming to me as the Kroiv Mishpacha? Salma. He's a closer Kroiv Mishpacha. He gets first dibs on this beautiful woman. I don't want to be too graphic, but just like imagine the situation. Here I am. I want to marry you. He was tzibrochen. He was a tzibrochen mensch. He just lost all of his children and he lost his wife. Here's this woman giving herself to him. And he says, maybe I'm not the one. Lina poyalayla. Stay here. Nothing happened. The Zohar says that at this moment, or in this evening, Boaz was kind of the title of Tzaddik Yisoid Olam. Because he was Nakar Sabris. And the Zohar, trust me on this, the Zohar says that he said to himself, I'm single, I want to get married. You're single, you want to get married. You're begging me to marry you. We're doing everything kadas ukadin. Right? Be paris your sibla. Let this be a proper halachic nesuyin. So ba'bayah. Get married. What's it? Like not everything is usher. So the answer is, it was usher to him because in his mind he said, maybe I'm not the goyal. Maybe Salmon is the goyal. So he became a tzaddik yesod olam for a cheshbon of maybe this is not mine. Maybe this is not mine. He was resisting himself. Says the Zohar, he was makabel midas Yosef at tzaddik. This is really the main sentence that I want to say. He was makabel midas Yosef at tzaddik. Remember we said, Takva shel Yosef, and Vasanusai shel Boaz. That's what the Gemara says. Sanhedrin Yutah. Takva shel Yosef, since Yosef brought into the world this midah of Tokef, of being miskaber on the Ashes Potiphar. So it was on Vasanusai shel Boaz. As difficult as it was, he became tzaddik Yisod Olam. He took in himself the midah of Yosef. Do you understand what's going on over here? It means that Malchus Yehuda just now combined with Malchus Yosef. At this moment, in this evening, by being toikev, by being a takiv, by being miskaber al Yitzroi, he integrated the midah of Yosef into Malchus Yehuda. That's what happened. And this is so important. First of all, mikan. That, there's what you are genetically, and then there's what you decide to be. It's just like the Rambam says that if you want to sit and learn Torah, loy shevet Levi bovad. You don't have to be from shevet Levi. Anybody who takes upon himself to learn Torah, you can become a Levi. Okay, you still get your regular aliyah, but you become a Levi. So Boaz, who comes from Peretz, who comes from Nachshon and Aminadov, who comes to Boaz, now integrated Yosef into the whole story, ad kedei kach, where the Gemara compares them and says, Tokvei shel Yosef, ad vasanusai shel Boaz. So now you have a very interesting thing, that you have Boaz and Rus. Later on, Salma says, no, I don't want to be Goyal Rus, it's not for me, Kinships. So they go ahead and they get married properly. They got married properly, and the Sanhedrin came and they benched them. After such a ma'isa, the Sanhedrin came and benched them. Talmidei Chacham Shebedor came and benched them. Everybody benched them, and the bracha was that unbelievable, you have now sown the seed for Dovid HaMelech. You're now going to create a new kind of a Mashiach here, which is a Mashiach ben Dovid with a midah of Yosef of Miskaber al Yitzroi. See, Rus too. Because Rus came from Moab. And Moab comes from Benos Lot. So the Benos Lot comes Benos Lot. So you have here a story of Yehuda Tamar mitzad echad and Boaz, and the story of Benos Lot mitzad sheni ad Rus, and this was all Benos Lot. This was all Peretz. It was all Peretz together. It was all Nachshon ben Aminadov dik, which has, as I said before, a tremendous mila to be Peretz together, but a tremendous sakon. Maybe if you take your child and you put him outside in the rain today, he'll develop new resistance to cold and to rain. Dangerous. Any of us doing it? On the other hand, if you incubate your child too much, you will have no resistance to that. So this is the balance that anybody who has children is struggling with. Everybody's struggling with this balance. So you have, but here it was so extreme because on the one hand you had him walking into the water, Nachshon ben Aminadov, that was in his background, which was a good bechina of Peretz together, and you have Yehuda Tamar, not so good, and then you have big question mark in the Chumash there, and then you have Rus, which is coming from Benos Lot. So this was not just a Kupa Shel Shrotzim, it was, but that Kupa needs a Hesber. The Kupa Shel Shrotzim, which Rebbeir was B'tayir as Asheretz, B'guf Nun Drachim. Not only is it a Kupa Shel Shrotzim, but it needs a tikkun, an unbelievable tikkun. So what's the tikkun that Malchus Beis Dovid needs that has to go through Rus and Boaz? Clearly, it's the tikkun of Yosef.
The Goren also, the wheat, is also what Yosef did for the Olam.
I'll tell you, maybe it's the Chernobyl Rebbe who says, this is the Ber Maim Chaim, who says that, do you know why Boaz was sleeping in the Goren? I'm saying, because it was his job to be mafresh the klipa from the pri. That's what's going on there. What's that? Big electric blowers. He was the winnower. Mm-hmm. The winnower was there was a symbolism in this Maisa having to have happened in the Goren, the Yosef.
Perhaps on an emotional level, he just wanted a new start. So he wanted to remove himself from the wealth and from the
But
castle.
there he was Gufa Mafresh, the Klipa. That was the Hafresh of the Klipa from the Pri. Okay, so I think they're out of time. I want to say this. Cut to the chase. Cut to the chase. We know that there's a Mashiach ben Yosef before there's a Mashiach ben Dovid. We know it's a Gemara Sanhedrin. We think that the pshat is that Mashiach ben Yosef, like Yosef, is to be meichen the Aretz before Dovid HaMelech comes and is meichen the Ruchnius. So, but Mashiach ben Yosef, like Yosef, is in charge of the Gashmius. Ki hu ha-mashbir l'chol eretz Mitzrayim, v'chi hu moishel b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. And Dovid HaMelech is going to come and bring the Shechina here, the Ruchnius. Dovid Malchus Mashiach is bring the Ruchnius. Emes. It's deeper than that, because we know that before you get to the Midas HaMalchus, you need the Midas HaYesod. Chesed Gvur Tiferes Netzach Yesod. Yosef was Tzadik Yesod Olam. You need Midas HaYesod. So it's not just about being Masak in the Oretz. It's about Midas HaYesod in the Oretz before you get to Malchus. So you need Mashiach ben Yosef before you need Mashiach ben Dovid. The Midah of Yosef has to precede the Midah of Dovid. What is the tikkun for the Aretz? What's the tikkun for the Aretz? The tikkun for the Aretz is to be able to reign over the Gashmias instead of the Gashmias reigning over you. Layish barbar. So Yosef says, nobody eats so much. Don't eat so much for these years of famine, for these years of plenty, because we're going to need it for the years of famine. That's a hard discipline. Right now I'm hungry. Like that's the war of the cookie. But Yosef taught the world not just let's go be Masak in Eretz Mitzrayim, but he taught them how to be Miskaber al Yitzra. That was the Midas. And why did he know that so well? Because of his Maisa with it. He was the ultimate of the Miskaber al Yitzra. Look at him with the Ashes Potiphar. So he taught Paro. He taught the world that sometimes you have to restrain. So the tikkun of Yesod, gentlemen, is not just the tikkun of let's get an army here. Let's get maybe that's part of it. Let's create a state. Let's create a government. That's for sure the Yosef department. And I believe we're living in the time of Mashiach ben Yosef. But it's a different, deeper part of it also, and that is that they're the Miskaber al Yitzra. Just want to tell you something. Indulge me politically for a minute. But a week or two ago there was the Arabs rioted, maybe in here Chetzron, and they were throwing stones at the Tzahal, and the Tzahal ran away from them. And there's the video. The Al Jazeera is putting the video all over the world. Look at the wimps and Tzahal that they're running away from the Arabs, and the Tanyoza, we have to change our policy here. everything has got to change. Like Shaitim, these guys are carrying machine guns. If somebody be throwing a stone at me and I have a machine gun off with his head, I'm not waiting even a second. The gevura it is for 50, 60 chevra, which didn't even go to yeshiva probably, to walk away and b'pachin nefesh, b'busha. Ezel gibor, what kind of gevura are we talking about? This is the tikkun of Yosef. It's unbelievable gevura. It's much bigger gevura than shooting everybody. Big deal. The gevura here that has to take place in the Mashiach ben Yosef era is the Yosef that came into the life of Boaz and Rus. That's the gevura. So the tikkun habris, if you will, or the tikkun of midos, the tikkun of gevura, which Yosef, which the era that we're in, is all about. So let me just end with this back to the Gemara. Takfai shal Yosef brought a midah in the world of Taikeh. And Vasanusai made it so much easier for Boaz, from Malchus Yehuda, to be able to integrate a midah of Yosef into Yehuda. It was the same thing, by the way. You see, Yosef could have lived with Ashes Potiphar, but what did he say? It's not right. It's not right. There's an Egyptian guy here. He's your husband. I'm not your husband. That's what he said. He didn't say it. It's not right. It was mind over matter. So now when we get to Boaz, who was, according to Chazal, was b'milchama all night long. And that was called Anvas Anusa. That was already easy for Boaz. He was b'milchama with his Yetzer all night long with Rus. Well, what was this milchama about? I'm single, you're single. Hey, what's the problem? The problem is, what about Salma? Maybe I'm not the girl. Maybe he's the girl. So it was all a courtesy for somebody else. Takfai shel Boaz, this whole hardship of Boaz, Yachasi, was Anvas Anusa shel Palti ben Layish. What was the Palti ben Layish? Palti ben Layish, Shaul said, here's a wife, I'm giving you the beauty queen of the world. Here's my daughter, the daughter of the Melech. Michal ba Shaul. Tokar cherev b'mita. He puts a cherev in the mita, double-edged sword. You move this way, I move that way, we're done. I mean, that means to me, not only that they didn't have relationships, but he probably didn't sleep all those years. How do you sleep with a sword next to you? It's fair. Like, you gotta be careful how you sleep. You can't fall asleep completely. What was his cheshbon? He was married to her. What's the bayah? Ma ha-bayah. The Melech told him to do it. The answer is not. Maybe she belongs to Dovid. In entirety, she belongs to Dovid. All three the same thing. Yosef, Boaz, Palti ben Layish, and that's the Gemara, the genius of Rabbi Yochanan. That he puts the three things over Rabbi Yochanan. Here's your string. Here's your string. You start with Yosef, you go to Boaz, you go to Palti ben Layish. Here's the Geula. The Geula is that you have to have Mashiach ben Yosef integrated, midas of Yosef integrated into Yehuda, so that the Peretz Geder has a Geder. So the Peretz Geder, yes, you can be a Peretz Geder if not everybody's allowed to be Peretz Geder. You're only allowed to be Peretz Geder if you're Misgaber al Yitzray, if you have the Gevurah of Yosef. That's the only one who's allowed to be Peretz Geder. So hence you have the two worlds coming together until we come to the Geula. And now we go to a bris.